we're underway this week. A banger last night, Packers and Lions.
Yeah.
We thought it was going to be good. The Lions just keep being the Lions despite their injuries. We've spoke lots about their culture, but it was evident.
Yeah, such a Lions game, right? Go for it on 4th down. It's like, is it going to happen? They make it. They win the game. It's everything that when you talk about culture, they are. They're resilient. They keep pushing forward. The playmakers make the key moments, but it's all about the collective, and you see that. So many injuries on defense, but they find a way to pull it out. They find a way to be victorious. This team is hardened for battle, and it starts at the top, and you see it on the field. When you can plug in backups the way they can, and they just fit in, that tells you all you need to know about the culture.
You spoke last week very much about the next man up mentality, and I think we can see from teams that are able to do that, kind of who's getting it right off the field. Is that fair?
Yeah, without a doubt. But it is, you have to plug into a system. And you're absolutely right. The next man mentality is what we all have. But it only works if you believe it, meaning you prepare every single week like you could be that individual. You're never caught off on surprise, and great teams aren't. When you got to go in the game, you're ready to play.
How hard, though, is it sometimes when, well, maybe it's not so hard, when your coach is so true to a principle, and that is, let's be us, let's be aggressive, let's stay who we are. I was going to say, how difficult is that? But it feels like actually it's probably easier when it's that way.
It is. You understand. You know what is required. And in the moment, in the game, you're not caught off guard because you understand this is who we are, this is what we are. Now, if a coach does something out of character, you're like, wow, that was unexpected. I wish I would have known that. Maybe I would have thought differently or prepared differently. But not when you are the Detroit Lions. You know exactly who and what you are.
And that comes from Dan Campbell. And I think we could probably go all the way back to when they got Jared Goff on board. And obviously the quarterback sets a tone. I don't kind of feel he's been getting the praise he deserves this season. He's key to the way that whole team functions.
He's getting the praise from the team and the fans.
Yeah.
The way they cheer his name, the way they celebrate him. We've talked about this team and its growth, and you have to bring Jared Goff with it because he is someone who had to overcome a challenge. He is someone that was forgotten about, and that is what the Detroit Lions are. That's why he epitomizes who and what they are, and Dan Campbell has always pushed him in the forefront of the conversation because of that.
They keep it simple for him, but execution is still important. I saw this morning that he's closing in on like a Tom Brady record for perfect games in the season. That tells you a lot about him as a player, though, as well.
Yeah, it looks simple because he has a great understanding of the offense. He talked about the way he challenges Ben Johnson as far as what he sees and how he would check. And he's on that next level of understanding the offense. And you see it because it looks so simple. And that's one thing about anything in life. When people make it look easy and it looks natural, that's because they worked really hard at it and they have a gift. And Jared Goff is showing that. I mean, the relationship he has with the play caller and that offensive line, that protection. I mean, the offensive line is the identity of the team. So when he's back there, he has complete trust that he's going to be all right and can deliver the ball down the field.
It's a record-breaking season for them already. That was a big game last night. They've got the Bills next weekend. That already feels like the next game I want to watch, let alone, let's forget week 14. Let's fast forward.
And it's a good point. The Bills better not slip up.
Yep.
Because the Rams can beat them.
Yeah.
They got to be ready, and they're going to show if they are a championship caliber team, if they're going to be in the Final Four, because you don't make missteps. So you got to go out here and handle this week and can't think about the next one. But you're right. Everybody wants to watch it.
That top of the NFC is super competitive. The Eagles are really flying, no pun intended. And obviously the Vikings are right behind them.
Yeah.
As a player, are you looking and kind of seeing what's going on elsewhere? Because it feels like that can sharpen the mind when you kind of know you're already in the postseason.
Honest answer is no. And you just can't. Mm-hmm. You're so busy and focused on the next opponent. A lot of times you don't know what's really happening around the league as far as what their kind of philosophy is or how they're attacking people. You might see the highlights, but until you dove in deep on what they're doing, you don't really know. And that's the key. Like that's what's so great about it. Like, we see it all, but as a player, you are just spending all your time preparing for your next opponent.
We've spoken a lot about positives here. One team who are kind of struggling to find a way at the moment is San Francisco 49ers. I wanted to sort of speak to you a little bit about Super Bowl windows because they've been there or thereabouts now for nearly half a decade.
Yeah.
Does there come a time where maybe a little bit of a reset is needed for a team, or are they going to kind of stick to what they are again for maybe?
Without a doubt, with the reset, it's hard because that usually comes from the top, right? You have a coach who's trying to win games. You have your personnel department who is looking at the future, and they're kind of intertwined as far as San Francisco is concerned. Kyle Shanahan just runs that whole thing. But yes, their window looks like it's closed by the look of the injuries they're getting, right? Yeah. This team was difficult because of its personnel. We always talked about it, man. They win every matchup because they've got this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. And when they're on the field, who do you stop? Well, that's not the case this year. So next year, I mean, when they get back to it, they got some things and decisions they need to make with different contracts. But if everybody's healthy, yes, they're a dangerous team, but that's a big if.
Christian McCaffrey's key to their identity. He's someone who's struggled with injury. Brock Purdy's got a contract coming up. You sort of preempted it there. Do they maybe have to make a decision on which way they go, like quarterback, running game, whatever it might be?
Definitely with the quarterback, they're going to have a decision they have to make, because I was reading an article on this and it made a lot of sense. It's how much do you love that person when you got to pay him a lot of money? Yeah. Like right now, you love Brock Purdy, right? You couldn't celebrate him more. I mean, he's a cheap rookie. You know, he's making plenty of money off the field, but what you're paying him in salary is nothing. Yeah. So, of course, you love him. If you have to pay him $60 million, how much do you love him then? How much do you expect out of him? So this is a question that Kyle Shanahan is going to have to address with ownerships. And we're going to see which direction they go, but it's going to be built on what they feel about Brock Purdy.
It does feel like teams are maybe now taking a risk on kind of project quarterbacks, for want of a better description, and one who's really excelling and has probably allowed the rest of his team to thrive is Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. They've closed in on the Falcons, who have kind of hit the skids at the wrong time. What have you been impressed by Baker and the Bucs?
Man, one thing about Baker is, and I love watching him, he's just so aggressive, and you see the passion. And when he got there, coming off after Tom Brady, the way that locker room accepted him said a lot about him as a leader and as a player and a guy who goes out there and prepares and performs on the field. I love the way they can run the ball now. They have that physical running game, that presence. But Baker Mayfield, you always have a chance with him because he is going to take shots down the field. He's aggressive. He's an aggressive thrower. And that's key, especially when it comes down to tight games in the fourth quarter. You can't have somebody that's scared. And we know there's a struggle in the NFC South. And this is a team that is exciting. Imagine them if they do make it to the playoffs. That's an exciting watch. And they can beat anybody on any day. So with Baker, you always got a chance. And he showed the rest of the league that you can rehabilitate a quarterback. It's not necessarily about him as his skills are concerned, but it's the situation.
He's helped massively by Mike Evans, who's back. We talk a lot about the young receivers who've come into the league and some really, really good ones. Is Mike Evans, we spoke a bit about Jared Goff, is Mike Evans underrated sometimes because he is unreal?
Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer. Yeah. And I think anybody that talks about him or knows his game knows how good he is. I think because he's not as loud as other receivers, which is a reason why you go out there and you be very vocal, because you get more attention. But as a player, I mean, he can just take over a game. You know what he's going to do every time. He throws it up. He still takes advantage of you. And to that point, I mean, when you look at his statistics, I mean, 1,000 yards in I don't know how many seasons in a row. That's ridiculous. And you watch him. At any moment, you're just like, oh, Mike Evans, stop him. And there he goes. So, yeah, he's in the football community, he has tons of respect. Once again, I think on a national stage, if you're not the loudest person in the room, sometimes people aren't talking about you.
Away from kind of like on-field stuff, I'm going to chat to you a little bit about something that's kind of growing in resonance, coming over to the Premier League as well over here, fashion.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to see what you're wearing when you're arriving. Has that always been the case?
So it's new, and it's because of that the league has allowed it. What I mean by that, we were regulated so much before. You had to wear a suit, and at home games you could wear something in some kind of parameters, right? You couldn't get out there. But now, because they understand it is about celebrating the individual, you see that flair. And the one thing I'll say, and I've always thought this, it's not the quarterbacks, it's not the little guys, it's the big guys. The big guys have style. And it's so hard. Think about the commitment you have to go to find a size 15 shoe, right? Or something like that. You can't go buy it off the rack. So you really have to be diligent in your approach and to get your fashion sense right. And I think they're doing a great job. I like watching the big dudes, man. They come through. Some of them I see on every week, and I won't even know their face. Once they say their name, I'll know, and I'll be like, man, that guy, now that's fresh. So I really think the big guys, sometimes the offensive tackles, man. I like Trent Williams. Sometimes he comes through. He's looking really fresh. But yeah, it's the big guys.
But it's also Halloween and Christmas.
Oh,
There's
all of it.
some real buy-in across the board.
Think about Myles Garrett every Halloween. I mean, his costume. It's amazing. The dude puts in hours probably doing that, and he can because he goes out and he balls on the field. Yeah. Like, if you come looking fresh, you better ball out because we're looking like you spent all your time on your dress. You went out there and got destroyed, so you got to play well.
It was funny on Hard Knocks this week, Joe Burrow was talking about buying a Batmobile and then said he might get the outfit to go with it.
Hey, I got to give Burrow a lot of credit. Now, he went to LSU. Jamar Chase is his boy, and he gives him some help. Joe Burrow's fashion is cool. Yeah. He steps out there. I like his style too.
Batmobile a bit extravagant now, right?
I mean, it's Joe Burrow.
That far? Have you ever gone that
Never
far?
that far, man. I was just trying to make it out the game alive, man, and not get cut. I wasn't worried about what I was wearing.
I think final point is something we go from one extreme to the other. Darts.
Yeah, love darts.
Now, you told me we've got some flyers laying around down here. You told me you were a big fan.
Love darts. I think it's one of the best events I've ever been to. And I've seen a lot. The first time I witnessed it, I'm near Alexander Palace, and I'm watching these people walk down the street, and I'm thinking, what is this? What is about to happen? You've never seen the darts? No, I haven't. I go to the darts, and I'm like, this is the greatest single experience I've ever had. I mean, the way the fans are, all the costumes, I mean, the entertainment, the atmosphere. I tell all my American friends, you have to come over and you have to experience this.
Yeah, I was telling Jack, who you spoke to in our team, he's got to experience it. It's unreal. The game is kind of evolving a little bit over there. It's not at the levels it's at. Like, because Americans play darts in a very different way, but the event is very different. That's what it is over here, right?
Yes, it's the event. Like any sport, right? I mean, you have the sport, but it's what you build around it. Yeah. And that event is so unique, so special. It's brought a lot of notoriety to darts, and it's so special. And I just think that you have to experience it. And that's the one thing I love about living in this country is all the different sports have this different, unique experience, and you just gotta live it.
Okay, last question on it then. Nickname, if you're a dart player. Walk on music.
Oh, my nickname will be Die Hard.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm going down. It does. I'm going down.
Yeah.
Walkout music would 100% be Snoop Dogg. Probably Snoop Dogg, early Snoop Doggy Dogg, just come,
I like it.
Yeah. Because I'm from Long Beach, California, so I got to represent my hometown, go out there and do it.
That's a perfect way to end. Jason, as always, thank you.
All right, my friend.